Hi everybody, welcome back to the Master Flow Plumbing YouTube channel. Today we are at a customer's house that actually has a clogged toilet, so I thought it would be a good time to talk about the different ways that we can unclog this toilet. There's the traditional way with the plunger, and then there's also the closet auger. Before I get in and tell you about the difference of those though, I'd like you to go ahead and go down there and click that subscribe button so it helps us out. And we'll go ahead and we'll begin here. So let's talk about the plungers first. This is probably the most common thing that people grab when they have a plugged up toilet. And that's fine as long as it's just the toilet plugged up. It's been my experience as a plumber though, that if their blockage happens to have traveled through the toilet and is actually maybe just on the inside of the pipe, just beyond the toilet, and you hit it with the plunger, well, these plungers can put a lot of force on the wax ring that's underneath the toilet that actually makes it seal to the floor, to the flange, where it actually makes it seal right there. And if you hit it with a plunger and it's plugged up just beyond the toilet, you're going to cause that wax ring to start to leak, and you're going to end up with water all over your floor or downstairs from the toilet, coming through a ceiling or anything like that. So a plunger, if it's all you got, I guess go ahead and try it. It's the most common thing that people use to do it. However, this is actually what's called a closet auger, because a toilet is technically called a water closet. So they call this a closet auger. Mine gets used a lot. It hasn't been used probably in a couple weeks, so the cable's a little bit rusty on here. So when I stick that in that water right there in this backed up toilet, it's going to actually kind of give off kind of like a brown, rusty, turn the water kind of yucky, but it's not what you think. This is actually, it looks like a fairly clean toilet. It looks like, I can actually tell it's plugged up with toilet paper. So I'm actually going to go ahead and just run this auger through there and tell you, how to do that. You can actually buy these at most big home stores. We all know who those stores are. And this one actually came from the big orange one, and that's where I got this one. It has a spring here on the end of it. It actually has a hook. So if you have little kids running around the house, then you've probably experienced this once or twice. You just never really know what kids will put down a toilet. So this little hook on the end right here is designed to retrieve certain things, that get dropped down on toilets. Sometimes toothbrushes, combs, little small hairbrushes, little toys. We see all kinds of stuff get dropped down into toilets. So this will sometimes pull it back out. Often it actually will just push it all the way through. Either which way, ideally you'd like to retrieve it, because anything you push all the way through that, it's like a toy or a brush or comb, toothbrush, or anything like that, if it makes it into the main line in your house, it can actually get caught up somewhere on one of the twists and turns on its way out to the city sewer or out to your septic field. If it gets stuck somewhere in there, it can actually start gathering toilet paper and waste and actually start building up, and actually then you have a bigger problem, and then you have to call a plumber out to come out, and then they're going to likely either pull your toilet and snake the line from there with a sewer machine, or they're going to actually find a clean out somewhere on that main line and do it that way. The idea is not really necessarily to push anything through unless you just know that it's just toilet paper and waste, going in there. Which in this case, I think that's pretty much what we got. So to use the auger, just make sure you don't have any rugs or anything on the floor. They're going to get ruined because these things do make a little bit of a mess. But what you do is you get them laid out like this. You lift this all the way up, all the way to that right there. Always watch the ceiling because these do get long. And I'm going to go ahead and stick this right down in here. You can see right into the toilet. I'm going to put that little rubber boot. I'm going to put it in there as far as I can. And then I'm going to start turning this crank right here. I want to do this, and as I do this, the idea is actually to get this to turn and go all the way down until this right up here is all the way down to here. So I'm going to do it like this. And sometimes it's tricky to get through the trap of the toilet. But there we go. We got through it. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and pull that back out. And there it goes. You can see the toilet has already begun to drain. Alright, so it may take 2 flushes to get it to work properly, but we're going to go ahead and flush it once. Okay, there's 1 flush, and I'm going to go ahead and flush it a few more times, because whatever that blockage is, I want to make sure it goes on, travels right on out of this bathroom group, and hopefully out to the sewer, at this point, and doesn't get stuck somewhere else in the house. What I usually do, though, is I'll usually go ahead and take this and set this aside. It's going to put a little puddle on the floor, but let it drain out here on this tile before you carry it out through a customer's house or through your own house and drip it all over your nice carpeting or something like that. So I'm going to let this toilet fill up. I'd like to also mention that this is a Toto toilet. Totos are actually known for probably being the best flushing toilets on the market as far as like the 1.5 gallon flush toilets that are out there. Somebody really had to try pretty hard to plug this one up, but they managed to do it. So they called us out here, and that's why we're here. So okay, it's filled back up. I'm going to go ahead and flush it again just to verify that it is actually flushing good. This next time we'll go ahead and put a little bit more toilet paper in there just to make sure. While we're waiting for this to fill back up again before we give it the final flush, let's talk about toilet paper for a moment. If you have a toilet that plugs up really easily, especially with kids, you may try just using like a one-ply toilet paper. I think this is just the cheap Scott stuff that everybody hates, but you know what? It's nice and thin, and even if you do use more of it, this stuff actually dissolves a lot easier than some of those heavy, thick toilet papers that you see nowadays that everybody seems to love. The single-ply stuff is actually better for a drain field. It breaks down a lot easier, and if you do get a plug in a toilet like this, sometimes if you just let them sit for a few hours, that toilet paper like that will actually dissolve and it'll unplug itself basically. So here's that last flush. I'm going to go ahead and flush it. What I always like to see is that right there. That toilet paper went down first and then the water followed it. That kind of tells me that that toilet is actually now cleared. And I'll probably, again, before I finish this job up completely, after we get off camera here, I'll probably flush it maybe another half a dozen times to kind of just make sure whatever was in there is flushed right on through the system. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and end today's video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Go ahead and go down in our description box, read our disclaimer, click that subscribe button, click the like button, go ahead and comment, and we really appreciate it. You guys have a nice day.